mediocre. Our first decision of the new season is to take a new sponsor deal. They work pretty much as you would expect, though money is only guaranteed if they have the match stipulation attached. Otherwise, you're objective chasing. In this instance, I was convinced by a friend at the time of the live recording to forego the match stipulation and trust in my abilities team to score goals and win at home this season. And the big turn up was Chelsea and Man City missing out on Europe altogether, though they still finished in the top 10, so the simulation isn't entirely messed up. And here is our biannual youth pool, a bit of an awkward attribute split, but he is 16, so not a bad pickup overall. He's going to end up becoming a forward, but what type of forward remains to be seen. Based on the strength of our new competition, I definitely think we can make some progress up the league table this season. Starting with Oxford United, who don't have a goalkeeper, which may explain why they specifically relegated. It does give us a chance of winning this game and getting an immediate payoff for our sponsor signing. So let's see how we do. I have the opening kickoff, and as usual, the ball is going to Challenger. Power shot doesn't help us here because if the defender blocks it, he blocks it straight up. And what I mean by that is that the defender would deflect it, but I'm fairly certain it never results in a corner, whereas if the goalkeeper is the one to parry it, you can get a corner. Precision shot in this case worked out fine. We beat the blocker and scored a goal. But Oxford are not a bad team aside from their lack of goalkeeping. Nah, they're gonna make the pick play instead, and okay. Defenders can only block shots on adjacent tiles if the tile is empty. Since Oxford already had a player on that adjacent tile, it gave their striker a clean shot at my goalkeeper. Still, this is nothing that can't be solved by scoring more goals. Challenger is getting sneaky good at scoring goals now. Let's cut ahead to later on in the half then, when Willen manages to win us a corner kick. I think this is a good chance for me to show off the cross mechanic then. First, I will admit that I messed up this formation. Willen is on the ideal tile to head the ball down if he had the head play skill. The problem is he doesn't and is therefore useless on that tile. As for the cross, first, attackers on the front row jostle with the defense to keep their position. This is a control versus control roll. Next, the crosser has to roll against the cross factor, 25 for corner kicks. We are successful on this occasion, so now Challenger, who actually got pushed into a more favourable position, can attempt a header. If he too beats the cross factor, the header is directed at goal, and then the goalkeeper has to use their control rather than their defense to attempt to make the save. In this case it fails, and we score. It's important to point out that heading ability is not based on any of the 4 attributes. Instead, the value starts at 25, with an additional 25 points added for each level of head play, making head play important in higher leagues if you want any realistic chance of scoring off the cross. Anyway, Challenger's hat-trick allows us to win this first game of the season 3-1. There was an interface change between the last time I recorded this game and now, so that's why the game looks slightly different. Challenger reaches specialization level 2, and this is a tough decision. You see, centre forward gives the player a level of head play for 3. The problem is it's only 1 level of head play, and I feel that centre forwards are a lot more effective if they're already learning the head play talent, because their learned levels and the centre forward bonus can stack and create level 4 head play. Level 1 head play by comparison really isn't that effective against stronger opponents, and he's going to be here for a while yet, which is why I make him a universal forward instead. Next on the agenda is my explanation of glory. Glory is an additional currency that you earn in-game anytime your club is successful for any reason. Specifically, winning matches, stealing results from stronger opponents, be it a win or draw, making a deep cup run, finishing in the top half of the league, or having your players finish in the top 10 of a stat category in the league or cup. And the primary use for Glory is to sign new and improved staff for your team. Coaches in particular are important as they allow your players to grow quicker. You'll see a lot of min-maxers put it all into defender coach, as high defense can allow a weaker team to stonewall a stronger one. However, I'm going to put a house rule on that from here on out. I cannot invest more points into defender coach than I have invested into all other categories combined. We have Doncaster away next. It's going to be harder to score on them compared to Oxford because they actually have a goalkeeper, but they lack a lethal striker, so it could be a low-scoring game overall. Scrag and Draco are going to see more playing time than their current skills would normally warrant, as I want to get them up to Specialisation Level 1 before the mid-season break. They can spend those months training their skills instead of having to wait. Anyway, scoreless first half. We got the kick-off for the second, however. Fortunate sequence of events for us here, as the central defender, his special ability is to make an automatic tackle when someone dribbles near him, but he rolls low so Challenger gets a chance to shoot, and then after some deliberation I picked precision shot here and managed to slot it past for the go-ahead goal. They can only really beat us on the cross unless they get a good roll. That sucks. He has control, but you know, his shooting's not that good. What the hell are you doing, Doncaster? Why would you loft pass it back to the keeper? And as the final whistle blew, we escaped from Doncaster with a somewhat unexpected 1-0 victory. It's been going so much better than I thought. We've even gained new fans because we're actually winning matches again. Okay, this is our first weather event of the game, of the entire playthrough. Whilst the heat is usually only an inconvenience rather than a game changer, it can become a big problem if your team is overly reliant on one player, which unfortunately our team is with Challenger right now. There's nothing we can do about it, however, we just have to play the game. Despite running a back five, Rochdale have chosen to put a zero-class footballer on one of the wings, which means we do have a chance here with Challenger. Well, the intention was to win a corner, but I guess the goalkeeper can roll low and score us a goal anyway. The brightness of this match burns my eyes. Okay, it doesn't actually burn my eyes, but this is the game's way of displaying that it's bloody hot. Rochdale do have a striker with level 2 cannon shots, and he manages to put himself in a position to score. But despite being able to roll the dice twice, he fails to get past Scrimgeour. However, on the ensuing corner kick, he wins the fight for position, which gives him another chance, and that was what he needed to finally score. Thankfully, all of these shots have left him knackered, so we don't have to worry about him too much for the rest of the game. They've got two strikers named Fisk. Hey Walton, cover Fisk. Which Fisk? Which Fisk? Ah, they scored on us. It's important to point out that when a skill is trained to higher levels, it gives the player multiple chances to roll successfully when they use the skill. At level 2 they can roll twice, and at level 3 they can roll thrice. The game remains 1-1 at this late stage, but then a foul. Oh wow, the cannon shot guy got injured. When defending against 3 kicks in scoring range, you're allowed to form a wall when you are moving your players, and that is exactly what I do. But in hindsight, I should have also brought more players back to defend against the pass, as they give it to the non-cannon Fisk. Fortunately, he is unable to make us pay for my mistake. I don't know if it's a draw we fully deserved, because they took so many shots on us throughout the game that they probably should have scored a second. Bag can now specialise, and this is a much easier decision than the last one. We want a defensive midfielder, we've got a defensive midfielder. Slide tackle perhaps not the ideal skill to have for this position, but it's never a bad skill to have in any case. In regards to contracts, we may have some tough decisions to make in the near future with how little money we still have. But it's a no-brainer for us to want to keep our future stars, so Draco gets 3 years, and Scrag will get 3 years when his contract is up for renewal too. Despite taking the wooden spoon in the 3rd League last season, Fleetwood Town looked the strongest of the 3 relegated teams, so it's going to be hard to get a result out of this game, but not impossible. This was a rather uneventful game, actually. I established pretty early on that it was going to be very hard for me to score, and Fleetwood Town, for all their efforts, couldn't even get a shot off. They messed up their kickoff to start the second half, and then a bad tackle that injured Bag. Fortunately, only a one-day injury, so he'll be back for the next game. In the end, this game ended in a 0-0 draw, which is okay when facing a team that looked as strong on paper as them. So we will quickly move on to the Northampton match, which, despite them being rather weak, may not be that easy, as the 5-man box they're playing in defense is pretty tough to break down when you don't have any skill moves you can use. The line is being blurred between the best team in the league and the worst. Northampton are still losing all of their simmed games, but not nearly by the margins they used to. This is probably the match where Draco gets his midfield specialty, and then we'll be able to see what skills he can learn. Wow. Wow. That was the most pathetic turn I have ever seen the CPU do. After that, it looked like this was going to be another one of those games that fizzled out to 0-0, until Northampton decided to do a back pass in their own half for some reason. Oh yes, they've committed a boner. And that's the risk you take when you end your turn with a defender holding the ball. I power shot this just in case my striker rolls low, but he doesn't, and we score. Not long after that, Willen unexpectedly gets in on the action. How? I don't know what to say. We are having such a dream run in the league right now. Next on the agenda is Trivet, who can become a central defender. This is a tough call to make, however, as in order to gain the ability to make automatic tackles on dribblers, you must give up the ability to intercept shots on adjacent tiles. This is a call I ultimately make, however, as it's nice to have at least one centre back in the back. We also got to start training a skill for Draco, but this selection didn't look too good at first. Interception would have been perfect if we were making a defensive midfielder, but Draco doesn't have nearly enough defense to slide over to that role, which seemingly just left me with no choice but to take a very slow to train layoff pass. But then I started thinking about what I could do with Nutmeg. If I make Draco a universal midfielder, we can line him up anywhere where there is potential to nutmeg a guy, and you get a bonus to accuracy and passing immediately following a successful meg, so I think it is worth a try. Last game of the episode is the Prestige Cup first leg against Milton Keynes Dons. They're running a back four with a sweeper, another tough defense to break down, but we are getting pretty good at defending ourselves, so let's hope we can grit out another draw or win. For our first shot of the game, we have overcome worse odds of scoring than this, but it doesn't quite work out for us on this occasion. But it seems our luck for this episode hasn't worn off quite yet, as Hussey on more than one occasion fails to make the long pass work with a dangerous man in the box. And with their forward also low rolling a tackle afterwards, that second failure enabled a counter-attack which leads us to pass to a motivated challenger who manages to thread it through the defense and score. Okay, this may complicate things a bit. No. Okay, he finally got one of those off. But it wasn't in the right spot. When it mattered most, MK's long passer would fail a third time to thread it through to his man in the box. He would finally succeed on his fourth attempt, only for the striker to fail to shoot it past Scrimgeour. And on the ensuing corner, our defender was able to jostle successfully and intercept the final pass, meaning that we got out of here with a 1-0 victory. A victory that I'm not sure we deserved, but a victory nonetheless. And thus concludes a very successful episode. I would still argue that we were more lucky than good, but wins are wins. You are seeing this, right? The RNG type is default. It's not like I was cheating or anything.